Hello everyone, this is Rashid and welcome back to the Ace Language YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to explain everything you need to know about the PTE Core test, what it is, how it's different from PTE Academic, and most importantly, what you should expect on test day. If you are confused about whether PTE Academic or PTE Core is right for you, stay with me until the end of this video because by then everything will be crystal clear. So what is PTE Core? The easiest way to understand PTE Core is this. PTE Core and PTE Academic are two versions of the same test with similar structure but slightly different purposes. PTE Academic is designed for candidates who need to prove their English proficiency for academic or professional reasons. It is widely accepted for university admissions, student visas, and in some countries, work visas and professional registrations. Applicants seeking to migrate to Australia and New Zealand can also take PTE Academic test. On the other hand, PTE Core is designed for general English purposes, especially to work and migrate to Canada only. Another key factor is the contents used in the test. In PTE Academic, the contents and the recordings are more academic in nature. However, in PTE Core, all the contents are mostly general in nature. Now, let's talk about the overall test format. Both PTE Academic and PTE Core have exactly the same structure. They're divided into three sections: speaking, writing, reading, and listening. One of the key differences here is the test duration. PTE Academic takes around 2.5 hours, whereas PTE Core is slightly shorter, taking 2 hours, which means around half an hour less. Another key point is in PTE Academic test takers get 22 types of questions, but in PTE Core, number of question types is 19. You can see that on this table. Number of questions in the speaking and listening modules are different, and they are same in reading and writing. Now, let's focus specifically on the speaking module, because this is where many students get confused. And this is also where PTE Core is clearly different from PTE Academic. First, let's talk about the number of question types. In PTE Academic speaking module, there are 7 types of question. In PTE Core speaking module, there are only 5 question types. So right away, PTE Core has a simpler and more streamlined speaking module. Two important question types that exist in PTE Academic are completely removed from PTE Core, and they are read a lecture and summarize a spoken text. If you have prepared for PTE Academic before, you know that read a lecture is one of the most challenging speaking tasks, and summarize group discussion requires advanced level of listening, note-taking, and structured speaking skills. The good news is neither of these two question types appear in PTE Core. This makes the speaking module in PTE Core less academically demanding and more focused on practical communication. Now, let's look at describe image, which is a common question type in both PTE tests. In PTE Academic, students usually get 5 to 6 describe image questions in the speaking section. In PTE Core, this number is reduced. In PTE Core, students typically get 3 to 4 describe image questions. So while describe image is still important and challenging, it carries slightly less weightage compared to PTE Academic. There is a difference in scoring guideline as well. In PTE Academic, describe image content has 6 marks, but in PTE Core, content score for describe image is 5 marks. But perhaps the most significant difference is in the scoring mechanism. Content part of describe image is rechecked by human in PTE Academic, which is not the case in PTE Core. That means there is no human reevaluation. Now, let's talk about respond to a situation, which is one of the most important speaking tasks in PTE Core. In PTE Academic, students usually get 2 to 3 respond to a situation questions, but in PTE Core, this number actually can be between 2 to 4. This shows that PTE Core places huge emphasis on real-life spoken communication, such as explaining situations, responding politely, and handling everyday scenarios. Now, let's focus on the scoring of respond to a situation. In PTE Academic, respond to a situation has 3 marking criteria. Content, that has 6 marks, fluency and pronunciation have 5 marks each. In PTE Core, while fluency and pronunciation marks remain there as is, like 3, 5, and 5, there are no marks for content. Rather, there is a new marking criteria called appropriacy, which carries 3 marks. So, are you wondering what does all this means for you as a test taker? If you are preparing for PTE Core, you should stop worrying about retail lecture and summarized group discussion. Spend less time overloading yourself with practicing describe image. Spend more time mastering respond to a situation, and generally focus more on clear, natural, practical spoken English, not academic style responses. Understanding these differences can be the most crucial element of your PT Core preparation journey. Now, let's move on to the writing module, because this is another area where PT Core and PT Academic differ quite significantly, even though both tests technically have 2 writing tasks. In PTE Academic, the writing module has 2 question types. They are summarize written texts and write essay. In PTE Core, there are also 2 question types, but they're different. First one is summarize written text and then write email. So the first task remains the same in name, but the format and scoring change, and the second task is completely different. Let us start with summarize written text. In PTE Academic, this task requires you to write one single sentence between 5 to 75 words. In PTE Core, the format is different. You need to write between 25 to 50 words. You are allowed to write more than one sentence. This alone makes PTE Core version less restrictive and more flexible, especially for candidates who struggle with long, complex sentences. Now, let's talk about scoring in PTE Academic summarize written text. Here, you will get 4 marking criteria and you will have 9 marks. In PTE Core, it is also scored on 4 marking criteria, but the total score is not 9, rather 8 marks. Both PTE Academic and PTE Core, your score will go to writing and reading module. However, its overall impact is smaller compared to heavily weighted it is in PTE Academic. Now comes the biggest difference in the writing module. In PTE Academic, students must write an essay between 200 to 300 words, scored out of 26, with a strong focus on academic structure and argument development. In PTE Core, there is no essay at all. Instead, test takers are required to write an email. In PTE Core, test takers will receive 2 to 3 emails as their writing task. For each task, you must write between 100 to 120 words. You have to write within 9 minutes. And this email could be informal, such as writing to a friend, semi-formal or formal, such as writing to a colleague, manager, or local council. On the screen, you will clearly see a clear instruction, a situation description, 3 bullet points that you must cover, a text box where you must type your answer or response. You will see a live word count and have access to cut, copy, and paste tools. 9 minutes is not a lot of time, so preparation and structures are extremely important. Write email is a partial credit task, so you'll be scored on 7 areas: content, email conventions, format, organization, vocabulary, grammar, and spelling. Maximum point for this task is 15. This is a very important point because it means there is no single high-risk writing task like essay in PTE Academic, and your writing score is distributed across multiple email responses. So, what does this mean for you as a PTE Core test taker? You do not need to prepare academic essays, for sure. You must master email and structure and tone. You should also focus on clarity, organization of writing, and grammar. Writing in PT Core is more practical and real world focused, and many candidates make the mistake of preparing for PT academic writing and then sitting for PT Core, which leads to wasted efforts and lower scores. Understanding these differences early can save you a lot of time and help you improve your result significantly. Now, let's look at the reading section. This is the easiest section to explain because at first glance it looks like there is no difference at all between PTE Academic and PTE Core. In both tests, there are same 5 types of question: reading and writing, fill in the blanks, multiple choice question, multiple answer, a reorder paragraph, fill in the blanks, reading, multiple choice, choose single answer. But there are some subtle differences, especially after August 7th changes. After the change, PT Academic fill in the blanks, reading and writing is now called fill in the blanks drop down. This question type now contributes only to reading. But in PT Core, it still contributes to both reading and writing and is called fill in the blanks reading and writing. Also, the number of questions test takers get in multiple choice, single, and multiple answers have changed. In academic, test takers get 2 to 3 questions of each type of question for multiple choices, but for PTE Core, they get 1 to 2 types of questions. So you already understand that PT academic reading module is challenging. PT core reading module will also be challenging, especially if you do not prepare well. Now let's move on to the last module, listening. Most of the question types are same in both tests. However, there is one key difference, and that is summarize spoken text. In PTE Academic, you are required to write 50 to 70 words, but in PTE Core, the requirement is reduced to 20 to 30 words. This makes the PTE Core version slightly easier, especially for candidates who struggle with longer summaries. Another difference here is in PT academic test, you will get question types named highlight correct summary, but this particular question type is not available in PT core. Additionally, fill in the blanks in the listening section of PT academic only contributes to the listening module now. In PT core, this contributes to both listening and writing. So there you have it, a complete overview of PT Core. To summarize, the test structure is the same as PT Academic. Reading is identical. Listening is slightly shorter and easier. Speaking and writing have the most significant differences. If you are preparing to work or migrate to Canada, then PT Core is for you. So let me know in the comments which test you are planning to take, PT Core or PT Academic. And if you're not sure, you can always reach out to us. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. If you need any help preparing for your PTE test, don't hesitate to contact us at 0188998291 in Bangladesh and 0456 446 963 in Australia. Happy practicing and see you in the next one. Thank you.